I'd like to welcome you to another edition of the DXEngineering video series. We're very pleased today to have a visitor. It's Ward Silver, N0AX, all the way from Missouri.
Yep.
And flew in today here on a very cold day in Tallmadge, Ohio to visit DXEngineering. Ward, welcome to DXEngineering.
Thank you, Tim. I had a great tour. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Hopefully you got to see some of the behind-the-scenes operations here. How did you get started in this ham radio hobby?
Oh, well, mad scientist as a kid and wandering around the library like all the other mad scientists looking at stuff. Found the May 66 QST, took it off the shelf and went, and that was pretty much it. Took a while to get, into the hobby. It wasn't like these days where you can just, go to the internet and figure stuff out. Mm-hmm. So I had to find another guy that was into ham radio, and he taught me the code, and one thing led to another, and then I took the novice, and here I am.
So you have here in the last number of years really got involved in a lot of high-profile things. Especially, you wrote a book, a famous book, Ham Radio for Dummies.
Yep. That was an interesting thing. I remember I was writing bits and pieces of things for the ARRL, and I asked Mark Wilson, K1RO, who was publisher of QST and then COO for a while, and I said, is anybody writing Ham Radio for Dummies? We really need that book. And he couldn't think of anybody who was writing it, but neither of us had the slightest idea of how to go about doing that. The Dummies brand was just coming on in 2002, 2003, and lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I got a call from the PR manager at the league, Jen Hagee. Mm-hmm. And she said, I just got off the phone with an acquisitions editor at Wiley. They are looking for somebody to write ham radios for dummies. Are you interested? I said, bring them on. So a couple of weeks later, we had stuff going, and there was a process, and I thought, well, I've been in this hobby for 35 years at that point. I'll just sit down and I'll just bang this out. And I learned a tremendous amount about ham radio. Just every time I started a new topic, and there's this big rabbit hole, you go down it. You know how big ham radio is these days. Right. It's just enormous. So that's how it got started.
Now, did you write any other books?
A few, yes.
Yeah, why don't you tell everybody?
Well, let's see. I do the license manuals for the league. So if you use the league license manuals, that's me. I'm the editor of the handbook and the ARRL antenna book, which is really awesome because as a kid I grew up reading those books over and over and over again, trying to learn about ham radio, and now I'm the editor, so it's a position of trust that I feel very honored to have. It's not a simple it's not a simple book, it's not a simple process, and it involves a lot of the ham radio community. So it's really opened a lot of doors for me, as well as just the simple fact of getting the book out. And there's books about antenna modeling, and I wrote one called Ray Tracy, Zone of Iniquity. It's a ham radio detective novelette. I have another one in the can, but no time, so I'm just simply thinking about it at this point.
Now, you also write for QST every month.
Yes, Hands On Radio is a column that we started in 2002, I think, after writing some quizzes, and said, well, I've been teaching at Seattle University part-time. I've got these electrical engineering experiments. Why don't we try a few of these and see if anybody wants to build anything anymore? We'll try it for a few months and see how it works out. So now I'm on experiment 148. So it's kind of worked out, and it's been translated into Chinese and is selling in China. So
wow.
It's only hand-on radio. They don't have a word for hands, so it's only hand-on radio, but it's a big seller. So that's a fun thing.
And here in the last few months, Nuts and Bolts picked you up.
Yes, I talked to their editor, who's a ham, Brian Berger, on NU3N, and I'd written a couple pieces for Nuts and Bolts, and I'm very interested in outreach expanding ham radio's community and reaching some of these other communities that are close to ham radio but not quite ham radio and have a little overlap with an attitude or what we do or interest in technology. And I'd been a Nuts and Bolts subscriber for a while as well. So I said, Brian, how about have you ever considered having a column that sort of touches on ham radio? I'm thinking back in the old pop communications days when Tom Nitel used to write a column every month. And he said, oh, sure, when can you start? It moves real fast. So 2 weeks later, I was doing that. And so every couple of months now, you get a column that touches on one aspect of amateur radio. We've done one on antennas. Next one's on oscillators. The third one's going to be on what you really thought you were going to learn about oscillators when you read the first column. And then we'll get into ferrites and RFI and all these other wonderful things that Nuts and Bolts readers would be interested in and have a ham radio angle to them.
Wow. And you also find time to do a web newsletter contest update.
Oh, that. Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah, the contest update newsletter is a lot of fun. That started out 13 years ago, and that's been quite a ride. 27,000 subscribers that are, plus a bunch more that read it online, and so that's a little potpourri. It's the mind of N0AX every couple of weeks, and what contests are coming up, and songs and stories, and all sorts of other things.
Speaking of songs, I hear you like to write songs.
I like to mangle songs. I'm sort of the Weird Al Yankovic of ham radio, I guess, or Bob Rivers is the guy that did the parodies. So I love to do parodies of song lyrics, and once you get started on these things, it's the hook gets set pretty deep, and you just can't let it go.
So and you like limericks as well.
Limericks are fun. I tip my hat, though, to W6 Charlie Fox. Chicken Feathers was the best ever limerick writer. He'd had a couple of drinks at Visalia, and he would just spew them out. They would just come. He could speak limerick. I never met anybody like him. So I enjoy a good limerick, but can't touch Chicken Feathers. So,
back to the songwriting, you have a band.
Yes, the Spurious Emissions out of the band. We perform, I'll put it that way, once a year at the Dayton Crown Plaza on Friday night of Hamvention. And like all good things, it's been getting completely out of control. And it's K4RO and myself and W4PA and KX9X. And occasionally we'll be joined by W1BXY, Becky from the League. Let's see who else. Katie and Dwayne, WY7YL and WY7FD, and we have a special duet number for them this year. And Mark, N50T and K0BJ, and those guys can really sing. And so we have this little Sly and the Family Stone thing going on, where whoever's coming to Hamvention that particular year and doesn't get out of the way fast enough winds up there in front of the stage singing things like Beatles songs. We haven't done any Led Zeppelin yet, but we're thinking about it.
But all these songs are ham radio lyrics.
Parodies.
Parodies.
Yes. Yeah, if you take Neil Young's Old Man and you rewrite it as Old Ham, well, you get the idea. So, and it goes downhill pretty rapidly from there. So.
And W1BXY did Stand
By Your Ham, and she just tore it up. If you get on to YouTube and if you look for Spurious Emissions, Stand By Your Ham, you'll find Becky.
So what's next for Ward Silver?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I've been putting a station together down in Missouri, and I have some towers on a ridge top, and I'm going to find out about lightning protection this summer. And I finally got all the hard line and the control cables and stuff like that in, and everybody says I'm wicked loud up here, so I guess that's going to be fun. And Elmering some new hams, and my big push now as a activity beyond this ham radio thing. Occasionally I actually do some of the ham radio stuff, but mostly I'm busy doing other things, is outreach. I think very, very, very important that the hams that are my age, your age, look around and help keep ham radio going for that second century. We're going to do it by opening our doors that maybe either have been closed or haven't been opened before, welcoming these new people in, show them what ham radio's got that nothing else has got. And I use the phrase, I can hear the world turning on ham radio, and people go, what? And when they go, what? You've got a story, and you've got their ear, you've got their interest. It's not like the internet where you can just type. The fact is, it's not easy. Well, that's the whole point. It's not easy. It's something interesting. It's unique. It's a new way of interacting with the world that they've never encountered before. Mm-hmm. And so we have a story. We need to take it out there. There's a lot of our people out there that would be interested in ham radio if only they knew. And so my big push these days is outreach. That's great. Well, Ward, thanks very much for stopping by here at DX Engineering today. It was great to catch up with you and
Tim, I enjoyed every minute.
What you're up to, and we'll look forward to your next visit. And thanks very much to all of you for watching the DX Engineering video series, and we look forward to our next episode. 73.